What's good, TikTok? Ignore the background noise. I know it's a lot, but I live in the house with other people, so we gotta do what we gotta do. But that's not important. Today, I'm teaching the difference between communism, socialism, and capitalism. Not only will I teach you that, I'm gonna help you understand the similarities, the harms, and the purpose of each of these three systems. And yes, we will be going in order. Alright. First up, we have communism. And yes, this is a picture of Stalin. Go ahead and pause and read this. Just take some time out of your day. Get this out the way. We do not support him. Before we continue, I just want to say this is on Canva, and this template is not mine, but these pictures and stuff, the information, I did make that, I did research that. The whole point of this presentation is to help people understand the difference between the three. It's, like I said, it's mainly to educate, and if you're interested in that, hit the follow, hit the like. I did see people do, like, presentations and stuff on their computer and shit. And since I do know a lot about history and I passed like every history class I've ever taken, I decided, okay, well, let me just do what I do best and educate, And this is a political channel, but I will make a whole other channel sometime, maybe tomorrow, for like strictly educating purposes and like news and stuff like that. And one more thing before we go on, if you could like, repost, save the video, comment, anything like that, it will not only help push it into the algorithm, but it can also help other people see it since it'll be pushed in the algorithm, and it'll like help them be educated, because there are a lot of people that genuinely don't know the difference between these three things, and there are a lot of people who are like non-political, and as you know, that is a very deadly thing that a lot of people don't really acknowledge a lot. And the reason I say deadly is because literally not being educated on like certain systems and bills and stuff like that, like basic political stuff, that can get people in trouble. That can lead to like the death and deportations and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to put that out there, and so people can actually know what these three things mean. Because I know a lot of people say they like capitalism, but they don't actually know how toxic it is. So that's like the whole point of this presentation. Without further ado, I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's get into it. Communism, by definition, is a classist society where community rules over the means of production. Not only that, but it also means the abolition of private property. Alright, but let's get into more depth. What does it mean? A classist society means eliminating the division between social classes, leading to a society where everyone is equal. Now on to abolition of private property. It's not actually about taking personal belongings, but it's actually about ending a system where wealthy people exploit the labor of others to accumulate wealth and power. And lastly, distribution of resources. It's pretty much when goods and services are distributed evenly, and also when community provides necessities. Now, who was Karl Marx? A lot of people see him as the face of communism other than Stalin, who we saw earlier. Let's talk about who he really is and what he actually did for communism. Now, when you hear Karl Marx, you think of the Manifesto. When you think of communism, you think of Karl Marx and the Manifesto. So let's talk about that. The Manifesto was made in 1884 about the working class revolting and overthrowing the harsh capitalist system. We will talk about capitalism last because it is in order if you saw the beginning. Now, who was Karl Marx? Karl Marx was a German philosopher, economist, and revolutionary socialist from 1818 to 1883. But now, let's talk about his ideas and philosophies. But he wasn't alone in this. He was also with Friedrich Engels. I'll probably say his name wrong, but that's okay. But along with Friedrich Engels, they developed the theory of communism to combat the inequalities in capitalism. But let's talk about Karl Marx's influence. Marx's theories and writings have been the basis of many governments and political systems throughout the 19th and 20th century. Now, let's get into socialism. People often confuse socialism and communism, so please listen closely so you can learn the difference. But what does socialism mean? Socialism is an economic and political system where the community or the state owns and controls the means of production. And if you listen closely, then you would have heard the difference. In communism, it's just the community. In socialism, it's either the community or the state. But let's talk about how it works. The goal of socialism is to ensure goods and services are distributed equally among the population, which is similar to communism, which is why they're so easily mixed up. But let's talk about Charles Fourier. We're talking about what his ideologies were, what he stood for, and who he was as a person. But let's start with his ideologies. He was a French philosopher, one of the early socialist thinkers, and one of the founders of utopian socialism. Charles believed that a society that cooperated would see an immense improvement in its productivity. He was also known for proposing an ideal society organized into phalanxes, which is a group of people or a community, which is not to be mixed up with the medical term. Last but not least, capitalism. See, this didn't take too long, now did it? Capitalism, by definition, is an economic system where private individuals and businesses own the means of production. It's strongly characterized by competition, private property, and economic decisions that are driven by market forces like supply and demand. But what does it mean? And here, I typed in the 4 things that make up capitalism to its core. Let's talk about it. Private ownership. Private ownership is where individuals and corporations can own property, capital goods, and natural resources. But let's talk about the free market. Prices, production, and distribution are determined by competition in a free market where demand and supply guide decisions. And the last 2, which make up capitalism to its core the most out of the 4. Exploitation of labor. It's pretty much a profit mode that can lead businesses to exploit and overwork workers by not paying them their full value of their labor, which we see a lot today in the US and other countries. And lastly, environmental damages. It's pretty much the greed and drive for more profit, which can incentivize corporations to ignore and deny environmental damages and costs such as pollution and fossil fuels. And if you want to throw it in there, climate change. Now, who was Adam Smith? You probably recognize his name from history books, or if you've ever been like in American school, or you just pay attention to any English middle school or high school class. Adam Smith is also known as the father of capitalism. Although capitalism developed over centuries, 18th century Scottish economist Adam Smith is widely considered the father of capitalism, as I said before, for laying its theoretical foundation in his book, The Wealth of Nations. But let's talk about the invisible hand in The Wealth of Nations. In case you didn't know, the invisible hand is actually a metaphor for the nature of self-regulating of a free market economy, where the individual's pursuit of self-interest can benefit society. And no, I have not read The Wealth of Nations, but I did do some quick research on it, and I did find a quick summary of the book. The main idea of the book, The Wealth of Nations, is that a nation's wealth is best generated through a free market economy. Thank you for watching, but let's do a few fun facts. Did you know in 1837, Charles coined the term feminist to describe his belief in equality of men and women? Do you recognize the hammer and sickle symbol from communism? But do you know what it actually represents? It represented factory workers and farmers working together, which is the hammer and the sickle. And last but not least, capitalism. The word capitalism first appeared in the 18th century to describe the system of borrowed money to fund wars. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you for watching. If you could, please like, hit the follow, repost, download, comment, literally anything that puts into the algorithm. Pretty much anything that put into the algorithm. People really do need to know the difference between these things. It's actually super important. A lot of everyday people genuinely do not know the difference. And I'm just here to educate. That's pretty much it. And like I said, this is only the first presentation. I will do some more. The next one I'm going to do is going to be about fascism and how to learn to avoid it, and how to learn the signs of fascism, or like a fascist dictator. And just to make sure you don't miss that, hit the follow, hit the bell, make sure you get the notification. That's pretty much it. I really do appreciate you for watching this. I'm sorry I'm stuttering. Like I said, I do want this to be at least less than 10 slides, less than 10 minutes, stuff like that. Thank you for watching. Stay woke.